there's so much competition out there that just because you wrote something and it's not going to rank number one because you wrote it, it takes time.
Hey everyone, welcome to the another power-packed episode of the Agency Insider Show. I'm your host Navneet Kaushal, and today we are diving into the heart of the SEO universe with none other than Barry Schwartz, the man behind Search Engine Roundtable, longtime editor at Search Engine Land, and one of the most respected voices in digital marketing. Whether it's Google's latest algorithm update or how AI is reshaping the search experience, Barry is always the first to know. And today he's going to share his insights right here with us. Welcome to the show, Barry.
Hi, thanks for having me. Really nice intro. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's talk a little bit about your journey and influence in the SEO world. So, Barry, for those who might not know the full story, how did your journey into SEO and search journalism begin?
In the early days, we were building a lot of websites, my company, a lot of software, web-based software. One of our clients wanted to know how search worked back in early 2000s. I think it was like 2000 or 2001. Right. And I'm like, that's a good question. So I did a lot of research. I went to a lot of the forums back then, like the old Webmaster World forums, SEO chat, all the old ones, high ranking forums. So create a site. Right. And there's a whole community there, and I became fascinated with it. And I'm like, nobody's really finding these really detailed discussions in these forums because they're deep inside threads of threads. And back then, nothing was really SEO optimized, especially forums, although Webmaster World was. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe if I could, summarize what the SEO community is saying on a blog, that might be a good way to help the community. So I started taking notes on what were some of the best conversations happening in the SEO community based on what people were posting in the forums, linking to them, citing them, and so forth. And honestly, been doing that for the past 20 years now. So,
yeah, I've been following you for most of those years. Yeah. Now, you have constantly broken some of the biggest stories in the SEO history. What's been the most surprising reaction you have ever gotten from a post?
Probably the most surprising one was I found a thread where a family of a guy, probably a teenager, was super upset that his girlfriend was basically spamming Google with memes of the boyfriend. And if you did a search for the guy's name in Google search, image search, up came thousands of memes about the boyfriend. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty interesting. We have these teenagers. This is probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago, teenagers using Google image search to get back at each other. I'm like, so I covered it as a SEO story. I'm like, oh, the SEO community would love it. Turned out massive websites, from gossip sites like TMZ to big publishers, I don't know, big as CNN, I think, picked up on it and they covered it as well. And then it made the couple, the boyfriend or whatever, even more upset. I'm like, I never thought it would go beyond our small little community. It's actually the only, I think, post I have robots out on my website. So mine is probably the only one there in robots.txt file that's roboted out because I told the family, I'm like, I can't stop and prevent other websites from covering it, but I could get Google not to index my story because I felt horrible. I thought it was only going to be an SEO story, but turned out to be a huge story that I never imagined would be a big deal.
Wow. Now, looking back at your early days with Rusty Break, SE Roundtable, and then Search Engine Land, can you share a pivotal moment that shaped your career trajectory?
My career trajectory, I don't know. That's a rough one. I don't think there's any specific moment. I can't pinpoint a specific moment. I mean, my career is really my software company. The SEO stuff is more of a hobby. If that makes sense. And I don't think there was any one specific, point in the. It's just being consistently, over time, writing stories consistently. Even my business, being very consistent about responding to customers and it's just being very consistent. So it's not one thing. I think it's just the repetitive nature of being really consistent over the course of the 20 plus years.
Wow. With over 2 decades in the industry, how has your day-to-day evolved as a SEO itself has evolved?
How did I evolve with SEO?
Yeah, how has your day-to-day work evolved as the SEO has evolved?
Um, I don't. Yeah, my day to day really. I mean, hasn't really changed that much. In terms of what I do with SEO, I look for the best discussions. Every morning I cover them every morning, and I move on. In terms of maybe how my writing style has changed, as you practice something, you get better at it over time. So my writing probably has gotten a little bit better over the years. And the one big change, I guess, with AI is that I started to use AI to actually generate images more often than not. Like I would say 90% of my images now on Search Engine Roundtable are generated using Midjourney, which is an AI-based image generation tool. And
Right.
I know it's not great to use AI for images like to represent real things, but when you're writing about, I don't know, Googlebot crawling the web, you're not going to get a real image of that. So you could say, create an image of a fun robot dressed in red, blue, and gold colors crawling through whatever, and it'll create a cool image on that, which is really relevant for the content. But it might not be good use for writing a story about some real thing like I don't know, kids starving from hunger in some country, because you're not going to want to go and use a fake image of that. But when it comes to using images for really technical topics around Googlebot or whatever, it comes in handy.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit more about SE Roundtable, because that's how I get to know more of you. Now, many know you also as an executive editor at the Search Engine Land. You are also the founder and driving force behind Search Engine Roundtable, which of course is a site that becomes a daily staple for SEO worldwide, I'm sure, till today. Now, when you started Search Engine Roundtable back in 2003, you just mentioned you put it as a note for a community. Now, did you envision its role at that time in the SEO community, or it just happened naturally?
No, I didn't start it to have any type of role per se in the community. No, I just love um, right. I like breaking like stories quickly. I find it thrilling. I also enjoy documenting what I read. And they say if you write it down, you don't really forget it. In the early days, yeah, I wouldn't forget it, but now that I've written close to 50,000 stories now, yeah, of course I forgot a lot. I forgot a lot more than I ever written.
Right.
But I never like built it as a way like I want to become like I want this to be like some type of like industry, whatever. I just wanted to take notes about what's going on. I first started actually covering like the early SES 2003 Chicago event or something like that.
Okay.
Just taking notes of what people were writing about and then sharing it, because a lot of people couldn't go to those conferences. It was a way just to really document what I was learning in the SEO community and sharing it with others. So I never really imagined it would be. I mean, even now, it's like you can't consider it's big for the industry, but outside of that, like we're a small little industry, and my blog is a small little blog. And you compare it to like a site like CNBC, it's nothing. It's like nothing. So it's a speck in the dust. So it's not really that big in the scheme of
No,
things, I guess.
but the parts which I love about your blog is when you post any news about a Google update, and the way people comments on it, and then they are discussing amongst themselves. So it just reminds me what used to be something when we used to do it on Webmaster World, because now there is no forum. So that is where I always tell my team that don't just go what Barry posted, because there are some solutions, some people pain point, and you might find similarity when people are talking in those comments. And sometimes those comments goes in hundreds. I'm sure you know those.
Yeah. So, and they get a little bit off topic. There a lot of emotion there, and I don't blame it. And people need a place to go and I guess vent if their site tanked in the rankings by 80% or more, and they lost a lot of their revenue overnight. It's a very, very sad and scary thing. So they need somewhere to go vent. I try not to moderate the comments too much, but sometimes they go really off the rails. And once you start like targeting individuals and abusing them, I try to be on top of that. Sometimes a little bit more than I could expect. But Webmaster World's still pretty active. Honestly, they have a lot of great discussions there. You could always pick up a lot of discussions in the Google forums themselves, although they're kind of like one-offs and they're hard to like put together. But overall, yeah, there is a lot of discussion going on in the Search Engine Roundtable right now. It's a lot less than it was a year ago, because people still had hope when it came to Google search. But now people are really losing hope in terms of their websites, and they're giving up, which is kind of sad to see. But at least I know I like to give people an outlet on the site to write what they need to kind of give them some place to go where they could talk to other people in the same boat as them. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. Now, how does the editorial focus of SE Roundtable differs from Search Engine Land, and what kind of stories or updates do you prioritize for each?
Yeah, so I guess Search Engine Roundtable is more of a community site, where I cover more of the little nitty gritty, like in the weeds types of things that only like diehard search marketers would care about, like really like stuff you wouldn't find. Like, I don't know, this morning I covered, Google changing like their autocomplete feature, and most people wouldn't care about that. Search Engine Land is more of like the bigger news. So yeah, of course, a Google update, a confirmed Google update I will cover there. I rarely cover unconfirmed Google updates on Search Engine Land. I save that for, Search Engine Roundtable covers all the unconfirmed stuff. I usually break a lot of the, barcode stuff where Google will be like, we're releasing this feature in a couple of days, and they'll send me some news ahead of time. That would be broken first on Search Engine Land. And then I'll have the community reaction more to it on Search Engine Roundtable the day after. So it's really more of a community approach versus like breaking bigger stories on Search Engine Land.
Okay. Now, SE Roundtable, of course, as you also mentioned, is known for its detailed coverage of unconfirmed Google algorithm updates and industry chatter. So can you walk us through your process for monitoring, verifying, and reporting on these early signals?
Yeah. So I use a lot of like what's going on in discussion forums, both on the Google forums, on Webmaster World, even now my own site. People are like, I see something's going on, they'll start chattering about it. And then I'll keep an eye on that. Usually I see that like at some point during the day, and then I'll go ahead and see if the third-party tracking tools like SEMrush and Mozcast and a bunch of these tools, SimilarWeb, actually start to notice ranking volatility in the search results. And usually when I see a spike in like SEO chatter within the past 24 hours, the tools will show the next morning a big spike in volatility. So when I see those two things happen at the same time, then I know I want to cover it. Sometimes there'll be a case where the tools are spiking and there's less chatter, and sometimes it'll be the reverse. And I try not to cover it then, but if it's like really unusual, I will cover it. Like just recently, one of the tool sets showed there was a big spike drop in Reddit traffic, just like over the past week. This happened just like earlier this week, and some SEOs were covering it, and Glenn Gabe's like, it doesn't make sense. I'm not seeing it on the keyword level, and I'm like, yeah, the other tools aren't showing it either. And then some the tool set, the Systrix, I think it was Systrix that actually noticed that drop. They confirmed this morning that it was some type of change to the Google interface and that caused this to happen. And it wasn't really that Reddit saw a traffic drop. So you have to be somewhat, you want to have multiple signals that confirm when there's a big update going on, especially when you're looking at one specific site, but more so when you're actually looking at the overall, was there a Google update? I like to have multiple signals that pick up on this. And it's very important for me, I think, to post these things is because Google is not confirming a lot of these updates. And then you have a site that saw a significant drop in their Google traffic and they don't know where to turn. Like nobody's talking about this. So I'm like, well, we're talking about it on Search Engine Roundtable, and there's a lot of other people that were hit. So you could actually talk to them and say, hey, I'm in the same boat. Some people in the industry is like, Barry, stop reporting about a Google update every other day. And I agree on some level, but at the same time, it's good to know that I'm not alone when I get hit. And I think reporting on it helps some people. It might not help you because you weren't hit, but it does definitely help people who were hit.
Right. Absolutely agree with that. Now, how many people work on SE Roundtable? It's just you all the time?
Just me. I sometimes have some guest posts here and there when it's like unusual, but I mean, it's 99% me. So.
Okay. Now, you have published over 50,000 articles on SE Roundtable and are famous for your work ethics and, most importantly, the consistency. I mean, I've seen you being consistent. I mean, I would personally get tired, but you are one person who would put daily. In fact, you've been doing more videos than I know anybody out there. Now, what drives your daily commitment to keeping the community informed?
I guess I'm just a stubborn person. I like to stay on top of stuff. I like to keep doing what I do.
Okay.
I don't like to stop doing what I do. So I'm just everything I do, just in life. I'm very consistent. People know they could, expect me to show up at a certain time, and so forth. So it's just my nature of being very consistent. That's it, really. It's nothing. Money's not driving it. The site doesn't make much money, to be honest.
Right.
I just people, I like to be consistent with whatever I do, from my personal life to Searching Roundtable to my business.
Now, given the explosions of AI tool and content generation, what's your philosophy around manual reporting versus automated SEO?
Manual reporting in terms of what? In terms of my
In
writing, or
terms
in
of
terms of
news.
I don't automate any of my reporting. It's all manual.
But what is your take on that?
People using AI to generate articles on the fly.
Or news on the fly, where they crawl and generate instead of somebody writing it?
My take, it depends on what it is. Like stock report, like earnings reports, they've been doing that forever. Because it's just a mathematical thing, and it's the only way to get
Okay.
the stuff out fast. But you do want to add opinion to that. So you see some of the better sites not just use AI, but they also add, quotes from people and opinion pieces on that as well. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing as long as the content's good. I do see a lot of sites that I read. I'm like, I can't read this. It just looks automated. It looks like it's written by AI. But AI is getting better and better over time. So I do eventually think that I could be easily replaced by AI in the near future. I don't think it's going to take a while. I think it's going to be near future stuff that AI could definitely replace what I do and replace what most reporters do and most professions do. Actually, AI will replace a lot of stuff.
Right.
I think Paul Shapiro, one of these SEOs in the SEO community, just posted this morning saying that he had some issue with his sun pump, like some device in his house. It was backing up or something. And he had ChatGPT, he took up a video with ChatGPT on his phone asking how he could fix it. And it walked him through how to fix like a plumbing issue. I mean, AI is replacing people said plumbers are safe, electricians are safe. Yeah, sure. But I mean, we have taxi cabs driving themselves. We have, everything's automated these days, and AI is going to replace a lot of that. And I'll probably be the first thing that AI replaces. And I'm perfectly happy with that. I don't really care. So let it happen.
All right. Now, so looking back, besides any story you told about, are there any other particular stories or moments from SE Roundtable history that stands out as especially impactful or memorable for you?
I guess like the universal search when it came out in like 2006, 2007, that landed me on NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams before Brian Williams had his scandal. So he was a very big reporter back on Channel 4. So I went to Rockefeller Center. I sat there and spoke to a camera. He was on the other end, somewhere else, I guess. I spoke to him. I spoke to being interviewed for about 45 minutes or so. Then the news was broadcasted, I think, that night. And I got about 4, 5, 6 seconds of airtime because it was the same night that they caught Osama bin Laden, and they cut the whole segment down to nothing. So that was pretty fun. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you don't know what an impact the site has until you speak to people in the community. Like people come over to me all the time and help me get this job and help me with this, to help me with that, help me whatever it might be. And then you go to like Google events and there's Googlers there, and they're like, you have executives who like literally lead up Google search, and they're like, you've helped us solve these problems and those problems. And like, I had no idea. I just cover stuff fast and push stuff out, and who knows who reads it. So it's nice to hear back from the community sometimes.
Yeah, I love the way you share different Google Plexes photos of different stuff. So all the time, I mean, I'm sure user keeps on sharing those with you.
Yeah, we'll do.
Right. Now, so what's in Barry's toolbox? Are there any lesser known tools or platforms you find indispensable today?
I don't know for lesser known tools. I use RSS a lot. So back in the old days, it was Google Reader. Now I'm using Feedly a lot. I do still use a lot of bookmarks. I do use tools to track when web pages do change. Those tools become less reliable, so I do often actually check them manually as well. And it's fast. I have a process to handle that very quickly. I do have a bunch of custom built stuff that I use to keep track of these things. So I know what I'm covering. And I do, see what else there is. Yeah, I mean, I also go to the forums manually and check stuff there. So it's a combination of all that stuff, specifically with Search Engine Roundtable. I try to automate as much as possible, make things as efficient as possible. I'm not using AI necessarily to automate that, but I'm doing a lot of things in a very efficient way to be able to track a lot of SEO chatter across the community. But it's a combination of Feedly, combination of Google Alerts, combination of tracking certain forum threads, tracking what specific Googlers are saying, and then having ways to track specific web pages that may change over time at Google.
Okay, and how many hours you spend every day on an average on SE Roundtable?
How many hours do you think I spend? I'm curious.
I think maybe 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, so usually, probably like 2 or 3 hours, probably closer to 2 hours a day.
Okay. Now let's talk about a little bit about search updates. And you recently discussed the pace and impact of Google updates. And how should agencies and marketers, you think, should adapt to these rapid changes?
They should just close up their businesses and go home because no, I'm just joking. I mean, SEOs are
a reality, actually.
I hope not. I mean, SEOs are really good at adapting. I mean, SEO and search has changed so much over the past 20 years. And SEOs who have been along for that ride for the past, 10, 15, 20 years are really, really good at adapting to change. So when search went from 10 blue links to videos and maps and images and, featured snippets was a big change later on. We adapted and we changed with that. And with AI overviews and AI mode, we'll adapt. It's obviously search is sending less traffic than it ever has to publishers. But people are still consumers are still going to search. Google search is still going to, they're going to like ChatGPT for other answers and so forth, and to AI mode and so forth. So I think SEOs will adapt to make sure the clients that they're working for, that their brands show up there. Will they get clicks to their website as often? Probably not. But their goal is to somehow get brand share in those AI engines to go ahead and get traffic to those companies, one way or another. And I think SEOs will adapt and handle that.
Right. Now, in one of your latest video, you touched on the evolving role of AI in search. Now, what do you see as the biggest opportunity and risk for agencies in this space?
The biggest, it's the same thing. It's if they don't change and adapt to these changes, they will be. If they don't do that, they will become irrelevant and they'll not be able to hand on. But if they do adapt and they do change they'll be able to handle it. So they need to start looking at, and this is why I cover a lot of these changes, is because when Google makes a pixel change, yeah, big deal, who cares? But some of these changes foreshadow where Google is going to go in the future. When ChatGPT launched their ChatGPT search with shopping, breaking down how that works is very important, and being on top of that and seeing how your clients. So you have to constantly try these new features so that you can see how they return search results. So you can see how you can help your clients show up in those search results, be it an AI answer, be it a feature snippet, be it an image or a video, or or a simple blue link. You need to be able to make sure that your clients are able to show up in those areas when it's relevant. And if you are resistant to change, you're not going to last in the industry. If you are, if you're excited for change and you're like an early adopter, then you're going to be great. I mean, I always download the latest and best update before it's like people tell me it's safe to do that, because I want to play with it before people do. And I love change. Even as I get older, I still enjoy change, and I still love following and being on top of the latest stuff, because I like to break things and try things. And so I think you have to have that mindset in this industry or you won't last. And that's an opportunity, as well as could be a big, big risk for a lot of SEOs who aren't of that nature.
Right. Now, there's been a lot of talk about AI overviews and its implications. Now, what's your take on how AI overview is and will affect organic search and content strategies specifically?
So what's the threat with AI overviews with content strategies, you're asking?
Now, so what is your take on how AI overview is going to affect the content strategies?
I'm not sure yet. I mean, I think I think it's leading to people producing less content because they're like, why bother? Because people aren't clicking over to my content and Google's citing it. But in terms of strategy to show up in there, it's still the same SEO strategy. You still have to write good content. Early on, when Google first launched their AI overviews as SGE, search and experience, it was citing stuff that was like out of date or low quality or somewhat spammy, and also 404. Like you click on the links, it was like the page wasn't even there anymore because it was so spammy. But Google's getting better at showing the better content in the AI overview. It still could be easily spammed. There's still lots of issues with AI overviews, just like they were early days of feature snippets. But ultimately, Google's going to want to show the best type of content and source the best type of content in their AI overviews and link to that. And that strategy is not going to change. It's just, can Google get it right, and how long will it take Google to get right? So if I was generating content as a content marketing play for SEO purposes, I would continue doing what I'm doing. Maybe one change you want to think about is fluffing up your content like people did in the old days for SEO purposes, for like, Google's whole like helpful content update and making sure you have content for people versus search engines. People were like, Barry, why is your content so short? Why don't you like add more information to it and make it more fluffy so it ranks better? I'm like, my readers want to get to the point, need to get to the point. They don't want to waste time. And now I think like you see these recipe sites back in even like now, the recipe sites are just like, until you get to the recipe itself, it just takes so much time to read the history on the recipe, about their grandmother who came up with it, and what the weather was like on that day. It's kind of ridiculous. And I think Google's kind of more focused on rewarding the content that gets to the point, that actually serves the user better. And I think that's one maybe big change that you'll see, that you're starting to see now, and you'll probably see in the future when it comes to content.
Yeah, I agree. I think gone are the days where longer content is going to serve the purpose. So I'm seeing a lot of SEO trying to decrease the content and size of the pages and actually getting rewarded for it. Right. Now, how do you recommend agencies communicate complex search changes to their clients without causing panic or confusion?
I don't know. It's how do I recommend that? I mean, the way you word it, I guess. I mean, as an opportunity, like search is changing. We as an agency, we're on top of it. We know about AI overviews. We know about AI mode. We know about ChatGPT and ChatGPT search and the shopping, and we know about Perplexity. State how you know about what's, the changes that are happening. Maybe offer webinars to your customers saying, here's an overview of what's changing. Here's an opportunity for maybe break it out by segment. You have travel versus, whatever it might be, B2B, and you might want to go ahead and tell them, this is how you guys show up in these areas, and these are our strategies. So again, explain to your customers what's changing, make sure they know you're on top of it, and make sure they know you have a plan of action in terms of what you could do to help them throughout these changes. Now, you might want to communicate that so far people are noticing less traffic organically from these results, but paid search seems to be fine, meaning the paid ads are still above most of these things in Google search. People are, I think advertising is doing super well. You see the Google's latest earnings report show that they're still doing great when it comes to people clicking on ads and so forth. But how ads might differ or organic results might differ in an interface like AI mode or ChatGPT, that was wait to be seen, but you're on top of it. You're the agency that's playing with it, and you're going to be the first person to know about these changes and be able to adapt to those changes because your agency is really, really on top.
Right. Now, from your perspective, what are the most misunderstood aspects of Google ranking system today?
It depends on who you're asking. So back, if you ask some layperson that doesn't know anything about Google search, it's funny. They think that as soon as you post a piece of content that Google somehow magically knows about it. It doesn't. It needs to crawl a page, find a link to it, then crawl that page, index that content, understand it, and understand where to rank it. So it's not like it's instant. I mean, obviously Bing wants you to use index now, which is more instant, but it's still not instant. So that's like probably the biggest, like just because you posted a page on the web doesn't mean that Google's going to find it immediately. It takes time. Two is, how those ranking systems work. People just don't understand that there's so much competition out there that, just because you wrote something, again, it's not going to rank number one because you wrote it. It takes time. Google has to trust you and so forth. It's just a lot of confusion out there in terms of how rankings in general work, and how indexing works. And I think you see that a lot with the Department of Justice, going after Google. These judges that really don't understand how technology works. You hear these Senate and congressional hearings where Google, these our leaders in America at least, are questioning Google executives, and these Google executives are like, that's not how it works. Or even Facebook, it's not how it works. Now, do we trust Google saying that? Do we trust Facebook when they say that? Maybe, maybe not. That's why. But at the same time, it's a very confusing thing. These algorithms are very confusing. AI makes it even more confusing, because they do things by themselves. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting space to be in. And I think it's just a confusing space. It's always been confusing. I mean, back in the old days, it was like some type of like magic or art, like some weird art that made this work. But it's really not. It's build great content, make sure Google could crawl it, and hopefully Google will reward you. This is less reward these days than it ever was because of how search is changing, but that's always been the premise, really.
Now, so are there any recent Google algorithm updates or industry shifts that you think agencies are underestimating?
I don't know what agencies are under. I really don't really know what agencies are underestimating.
Let's say what SEOs are underestimating as a professional.
It's hard to know. I mean, I think a lot of SEOs are still going through their checklist of do this, and that, and they're not really thinking about the future. And I get that they're paid to just do their checklist and move on, but I don't know what they're necessarily underestimating. I mean, a lot of them overestimate links. I think they like how important links are. I think that's, SEO 10 years ago. But and I think a lot of them are still looking for like specific, like I need to do this, and this to do well. It's not that anymore. It's really, I think SEOs probably would underestimate the power of the brand, like building a brand, and making sure that brand does well. And then when you get that traffic to your website, don't just think that traffic is going to be there tomorrow. Make sure whatever traffic you're getting, that you're able to go ahead and capture that audience in other means. Maybe get them to sign up to your email list, get them to sign up, subscribe to your social media, get them to, download your white paper, do something that they could become a lifetime prospect, a lifetime customer, as opposed to just somebody who landed on your website today and might not find your website tomorrow.
So it's like list building is getting more and more important, having your audience with you.
Yes.
Now, what is your take versus link versus content? How important is link in today's world?
I mean, I think content is way more important than links today. I think there's no doubt. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think most SEOs would not disagree. It used to be the biggest debate back then is content king or links king. Today, I think it's definitely content over links.
And when it comes to local SEO, what do you think are going to be the changes when it comes to Google Map? Because we now start seeing Google playing with an AI, because that's one area which is still untouched, but that's one area, I mean, a lot of SEO agencies makes money in.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd be surprised if Google powered their local results fully based on an AI overview or AI mode. I mean, that data that Google has about businesses is so structured, from their hours of operation to name, the services they offer, to Google updates, to reviews. They have so much good data that I could see Google summarizing the local pack and then showing the local pack under it. But I saw some examples of weirdness, like you were pointing out, in terms of like it's showing AI overviews above local. It doesn't make sense. I don't think it's not a good experience for users. A lot of the AI overviews are not great experiences for users, but the user thinks it's a good experience. I don't think the user, but what I mean by that is I don't think the user, a lot of AI overviews that maybe hallucinate, and they probably technically are not a good experience for searchers. But the searcher thinks it's a good experience for them. That's the big difference. Like I speak to a lot of people who are like, I love ChatGPT. It's great. It tells me all this stuff. And I ask them to show me an example. I'm like, do you know this is wrong? This is actually not correct. These AI answers are very, very, what they say, confidently wrong. There's a study done by the Columbia Journal of Review that says like 60% or more of the AI answers are incorrect. And they're confidently incorrect. They act like they're right, and people just believe it. So while AI answers may be what searchers like, I don't think they're going to like an AI answer for a local, like show me local, like find a store that has these. I think they want the local pack specifically coming from that content. They might want to summarize it and accurately summarize it with an AI overview and then show the results. But I don't think I don't think a user would enjoy that experience when it comes to local specifically.
Right. Now, what exactly is your take when it comes to ChatGPT? Because now a lot of people, I mean, in terms of traffic, we keep on saying ChatGPT is now the 10th largest site being visited, 9, so keeps on going those stats. So what do you think is going to happen in the next couple of years? Are we going to be optimizing more for ChatGPT, less for Google, or is it a Google Yahoo moment, which or it started it all?
I'm honestly, I think Google is worried. I mean, look at all the changes they're making. I think you speak to a lot of people. There are a lot of people actually going to ChatGPT. They used to try to go to TikTok. Again, ChatGPT might provide the best answer. TikTok might not provide the best answer, but user behavior is changing, and Google is trying to adapt to it. So I do think Google has a lot to worry about when it comes to it. Will ChatGPT have 80% search market share in 10 years from now? I have no idea. Will they have 5% market share in a year from now? I really don't know. They're growing really, really quickly, but Google's decline is not happening that fast with that. So I don't know. I'm not sure how to. I don't know. I can't predict. Last time I predicted was like 20 years when Microsoft first launched their first search engine. I'm like, yeah, Microsoft's going to kill Google, and I was completely wrong. And I had a good reason to say why Microsoft was going to kill Google, because back then there was no Chrome, there was no Android. It was basically you had a computer. It was usually a Windows computer, which was powered by Microsoft. And the default search engine on that was MSN search. And people went to MSN search and typed in Google to go to Google, which was pretty funny. So I was wrong, but I don't know.
Right. I mean, I still see a lot of common people not getting into ChatGPT as much because I think we are in the middle of everything. So we see everything like doing everything around us. But I think still people, their go-to search engine for normal people is still Google for most of the times. Now, what advice would you give to young professionals entering the digital marketing and web development field today?
I made a joke just the other day on my YouTube channel, basically saying, if you're going to get into SEO now, don't. Instead, become a lawyer, because Google needs to hire a lot of lawyers. They're constantly getting sued. I don't know. I mean, SEO is not a great space to be in my opinion, now. Especially if you're like not good at change and so forth. Paid search is still great, I think. Technical SEO is still important. All that type of stuff is, but it's changing really quickly. So if you don't really love change and you don't like, you have a hard time with change, then I would not recommend you get into SEO. If you do love change and you do love like what's every day something kind of new, and you handle that well, then SEO would be a good job for you.
Okay, and what is your take on AI agent? Because I've been doing a lot of podcasts, and it seems the AI agent is the next thing which is going to happen, and that's where the money is going to be for these search engine and giants. So, what is your take on that?
Yeah, I mean you summed it up very well. I'm a little nervous for for small businesses when it comes to AI agents.
Right.
Like, who's gonna Google can't integrate with everybody. I guess they can. They have the shopping graph, but when you book a flight, I mean, who's Google going to use? Expedia or a small mom and pop travel agency, or will they go directly to United Airlines, American Airlines, or whatever? If you're one of these big airlines, and have a direct feed into them, do the booking directly through them. Right. I don't know. I mean, I think AI agents, maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but I think AI agents is not a really good thing for small businesses, and I'm a little worried for them. But I could be completely off base, and AI agents may be something that just comes and goes, and it's not a big deal. But I don't know. I mean, it's very interesting to follow, and I'm following it really closely. But I'm still not really sure what's going to happen within the future.
The other day, I was talking with Mary Haynes, and she was talking about AI agents. She said that she talked to some of the Google executive, and they said that for 20 years, the users had Google for free on the expense of the paid ads. And now it's think that that's where the AI agent is going to come in. You're going to have a sales AI agent, you're going to have an HR agent, and the small businesses and all of us will be paying for those AI agents. And that's where where Google thinks they will make more money rather than giving us free searches?
It could be. It could be. I mean, every search engine that was created, even back in the Ask Jeeves days, was about task completion, getting something. Like you search for something. Why search for it and give me an answer? Why not just do it for me? And I think that's where people want to go, task completions and stuff like that. And AI agents make a lot of sense for that. But again, where are you going to buy that product from? Where are you going to get that airline ticket from? Where are you going to go ahead and book that doctor appointment at? Who's going to decide that? Is it going to be the user or the AI? So
it's going to be hard which doctor to book an appointment with. So that's something I would not like my AI agent to decide about my doctor, at least. I don't think.
Right.
My kids might, but I won't.
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting time to watch over the next couple of years around that, for sure.
Now, let's talk a little bit about content strategy in a post-click words, of course, with AI overviews. Now, you also often stress the value of digital PR and brand building, especially with declining organic clicks. Can you expand on why that's the key for SEO now?
Because you need to have if people are going to read an AI overview or an AI answer, and people aren't going to click on those results, but they see your brand show up over and over and over again for those queries, people might go ahead and say, you know what, I heard about this brand. Maybe I should just check out their website. And that's the key there, is to get your brand in these AI overviews that it's mentioned enough where people actually want to go to your website and then call you or whatever.
Now the talks are, will there be any websites relevant? Because what we were thinking is that very soon we will be optimizing our websites for AI agents rather than human beings, or we might not need a website.
Yeah, I think these AI, I think that everything, I think you need it. You definitely need a website still. I wouldn't go ahead and say delete your website today. But like you said, there'll be AI agent integration paths to these websites, and that's going to change a lot. It's like thinking about like people like complaining about structured data back in the early days. I'm feeding Google everything. They don't really need to show me. They don't need to show up anywhere. But eventually, people need to go to a specific website to actually accomplish a task. And with AI agents, maybe that AI agent that interfaces with the website will complete it behind the scenes for you. But you're still going to need something in the back end, at least, for that. So I don't know. Again, it's super early. I don't know how this is all going to roll out, but it should be interesting to follow.
Because I believe that very soon we will be optimizing for our websites for AI agents as well. I mean, that's what LLM's going to be doing. So maybe that's the AI agent's going to come and I'm going to have my website ready, built around them rather than the human beings. Right. Now, blogging is something, of course, you still believe in. Why do you think long-term authentic blogging still has a role?
It's part of branding, honestly. I mean, it's hard to start a new blog these days and become an authority in that space. But if you do, that'd be great. Could you do that? It's possible, definitely. But it's hard. And I've been doing SEO blogging for 20 plus years. And generally, when you think of an SEO blogger, you think of, I'm probably one of the names you think of. There's probably a short list of names. I'm probably one of those people. And that's important because it builds your brand and authority. I mean, it's too bad I don't sell SEO services. It's too bad I don't, I don't really monetize it. But, I think there's a lot of people in the spaces that are experts in certain areas, be across marketing technologies to analytics to whatever, that you think of, you say, Google Analytics or GA4, you think of this person or that person. You speak about, a tissue, you probably think about Kleenex, their brand. Google's, Google's known for being searched. They want to be known for AI as well. So when you think of AI, you think of ChatGPT and OpenAI. You want to be that brand, and blogging does still help with that. Writing content, going on these videos and webinars, being on people's podcasts, going to conferences, speaking at events, answering some questions for reporters, all helps build your brand and authority, which can then do well also in AI overviews and AI answers as well.
Yeah, I've seen, although we have never optimized our website for AI overviews, but we generally come when people are talking about SEO services in India. I've been doing it for the last 23 years and, of course, speaking in a lot of conferences. So I see the value out there.
Yeah,
now, one interesting thing you just mentioned, and it just came to me as a question, that Why did you never thought of offering an SEO services as such?
I thought of it, but I do well with my software development company. And there is a very, very, how do I say this? There's a very, very, I guess, respectful thing or thing where I could say I could write my own thoughts and not be biased based on me selling SEO services. Seen a lot of SEO blog posts over the years write things because it might hurt their business. Like maybe they were really big into link building and Google was like going after links for a long period of time. They would say, no, Google goes after these types of links, but not those types of links. Or they were a content development firm and they were building out content that was really fluffy and you have to write a certain amount of words. They would write things in order to make their businesses and their strategies look good for their customers and themselves. And I don't have that to worry about that. I could just say what I think is true without having any, pullback or pushback from to do it.
Right. Now, I know you said you predicted something 20 years back and didn't happen. Now let's try one this time, and maybe we'll revisit after 5 years with this podcast. Now, if you had to make one bold predictions for where SEO is heading in the next 5 years, what would it be?
I think it's going to be a lot of the same. I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised at a lot of the same type of stuff they're doing. At least today, not like 10, 20 years ago per se, but maybe today. Still building out great content that helps promote the brand. Still trying to implement, not structured data, but maybe it is structured data, ways where these search engines or AI bots could actually get to your content in a very, very easy way. And maybe a path like where they could actually integrate with your content. Again, a lot of this stuff is around like structured data and content development. And I think that's still going to be a very important part with SEO because where else are these AI engines going to get their content from? Where else are they going to get the answers from? Or where else are they going to be able to perform these AI agent services if they don't have a path into your system? So I think it's going to be fairly similar, just different in that sense that you're serving a different type of AI, like a different type of search engine interface.
Right. Because the biggest challenge which I find right now is with Google, you get 10 results. With ChatGPT, you only get one. So it's hard for an SEO to sell SEO in the future when there's just going to be one result giving you an answer.
Well, that one result could include multiple brand mentions and so forth. Yes. So, yeah.
Yes, it's still playing out. We don't know how it's going to settle.
Right.
But yes. Because the other day I was talking that a lot of people now use ChatGPT for recipes. They don't go onto a recipe site and it comes out perfectly well. Now, do you think Google will still dominate search by 2030 or are we entering a new paradigm?
We kind of discussed this before. I don't know. I think there's a lot of reason to think Google will suffer a lot in terms of their market share over the coming years. Right. Not just because of AI and ChatGPT and Perplexity and other search solutions, but also because of the Department of Justice, what's going on there. I think that's going to play a role. It all depends. So I'm not sure.
Okay. With that, we came to the last segment of our show, which is rapid fire. So you're just going to answer what comes first in your mind. So, okay. So I'm ready when you are. Okay. Favorite SEO myths to debunk?
God, that's not a quick one. I don't even, nothing's going links being overvalued.
Okay. Most underrated tool or resources for agencies?
Search Console.
Okay. One thing you wish every client understood about search?
It takes time for a piece of content. It could be seconds, but Google has to actually find that piece of content for it to be indexed and shown in search. Okay.
A book or a podcast you recommend?
I like the Marketing O'Clock podcast a lot from Greg Finn and his team.
Okay. What's next for Barry?
What's next? No, same thing. Consistent. Do the same thing over and over again.
That's what you like. Right. Barry, this has been an absolute incredible conversation. And thank you so much for joining us today and sharing not just your expertise, but also the journey and personal insights that have shaped your voice in this SEO world.
Thanks so much for all you do as well. I appreciate it. And keep up the good work.
Yeah, and for our subscribers, if you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe, leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform, and share this episode with someone in your network who is obsessed with SEO, digital marketing, or just love great conversations. And don't forget, every week on the Agency Insider Show, we bring you inside the minds of the people shaping the future of our industry. I'm your host, Navneet Kaushal, signing off. Thank you.